everyone back to Imaginative Vision's nostalgia trip. And man, this one has a special place in my heart because this is my favorite 80s show of all time. I watched it when I was a kid. I was watching this as a kid, well, at least the reruns when I was a kid. Because I wasn't even born when this first episode debuted back in March of 1985. But as you saw from the intro, as you heard from the rendition of the instrumental. As you can see from the background here, we are going to be talking about Moonlighting. And this is one of those shows that my mom used to watch. I used to watch a little glimpses of it. I was a huge Bruce Willis fan even back in the days, even when I was a little kid. So I really love Moonlighting. So let's talk a little bit about Moonlighting here. When ABC premiered Moonlighting on March 3rd, 1985, television was still dominated by straightforward procedurals and family sitcoms. Then came a show that refused to play by the rules. The part screwball comedy, part detective noir, part romantic melodrama, Moonlighting was brash, witty, and completely self aware. It gave the world Bruce Willis, revitalized Cybill Shepherd's career, and broke television conventions wide open. At its height, it was a must see TV that everyone talked about the next morning. At its decline, it was a cautionary tale about how fragile creative lighting can be. But for 5 seasons, it redefined what television could be. At the center of the show was Maddie Hayes, played by Cybill Shepherd, a glamorous former model whose fortune is wiped out after her accountant absconds with her money. Among her few remaining assets is a failing detective agency run by David Addison, played by Bruce Willis, a street smart investigator with more jokes than discipline. Maddie initially wanted to close the agency, but Addison persuades her to become his partner, renaming it the Blue Moon Detective Agency after her iconic shampoo ads. What could have been another case of the weak show instead became a playground for experimentation. It wasn't just about solving crimes, it was about watching Maddie and David clash, flirt, argue, and circle each other romantically while navigating increasingly bizarre cases. This is what made Moonlighting so refreshing at that time period. It not only just kind of broke the mold of those family sitcoms that we were constantly getting, but Moonlighting just had what some will describe lightning in the bottle, and that's mainly due to the main two leads, Bruce Willis and Cybill Shepherd, as David Addison and Maddie Hayes, respectively. It was it was an event to see, just to see them argue, just to see them solve cases. It was really that template that some people, some filmmakers, some storytellers still use to this day. But let's talk a little bit about those characters. When it comes to characters, David Addison was unlike anyone at the time of any male lead. He was cocky, he was sarcastic, he was mischievous. He seemed to treat life as a one long wisecrack. But beneath the grin was depth, loneliness, loyalty, and longing for Maddie's respect. Willis gave the role a swagger that felt modern and dangerous at the same time. Yet his vulnerability kept him relatable. Addison set the template for a generation of charming, flawed male leads on TV. And then, of course, we have Maddie Hayes. And Maddie was the perfect counterbalance. She was elegant and controlled. She was determined to restore dignity to her life after losing her fortune. Shepard infused her with intelligence, icy glamour, and underlining warmth. Maddie often acted as the audience voice of reason, grounding David's antics, but she wasn't just the straight man. Her bursts of passion, frustration, and vulnerability made her as complicated as David. And of course, we have to talk about the supporting cast. You have Agnes, who is the agency's receptionist. Agnes was the quirky soul of the show, known for answering the phone and whimsical rhymes. She provided comic relief and later emotional resonance. Agnes' romance with Bert was a subplot that allowed the show to explore love in a sweeter, less combative way than Maddie and David's entanglement. And then we have Bert, who's introduced in season 3. Bert was he was eccentric, he was nerd, and he hopelessly was smitten with Agnes. While some fans saw him as unnecessary, Bert allowed the writers to explore themes of love, partnership without heavy baggage of Maddie and David's epic struggle. And like I said, The chemistry in this really defined an era. The real magic of Moonlighting was the relationship between Maddie and David. The dynamic was molded after the great screwball comedies of the 1930s and the 1940s. Think The Thin Man or His Girl Friday. Their banter was fast, furious, and endlessly quotable. Audiences became addicted to will they or won't they tension. The attraction was obvious, but every episode found new ways to push them together and pull them apart. When they finally slept together in I Am Curious, Maddie, season 3, episode 14, it was a televised event, widely discussed in magazines, newspapers, and late night talk shows. Some critics argued the tension dissipated afterwards, but Maddie and David romance remains one of the most iconic of TV ever. And let me just talk a little bit about the themes of the show. Moonlighting touches on such various themes, such as romance and desire, power and gender roles, identity and reinvention, fate versus free will, and love and work intertwined. And let's also talk about the beauty of the soundtrack because the soundtrack, folks, is just amazing. I still play this theme song to this day. It's one of the best theme songs. You heard me sample it in the beginning. Al Jarreau's Moonlighting. It is just a beautiful song, beautiful composition, and that harmonica intro is just amazing. And let's talk a little bit about this because Moonlighting wasn't just a quirky detective show. It was thematically a kaleidoscope that mixed romance, comedy, noir, and surrealism, all set to that beautiful soundtrack that felt as bold as the storytelling. Beyond the banter and meta jokes, the series explored themes of identity, gender roles, love, and ambition. And its music, from Al Jarreau's smooth jazz theme song to the daring use of contemporary pop within the episodes, gave it a cinematic richness that set it apart from its network peers. Romance and desire, the beating heart of Moonlighting, was shimmering attraction between Maddie Hayes and David Addison. The show played with the eternal will they or won't they trope, but instead of the soft melodrama, it leaned into raw passion and frustration. The relationship asks, can opposites truly attract? Can romance survive when tangled up with ego, wit, and workplace tension? Then we have the power and gender roles. Maddie and David's dynamic also reflected deeper questions about gender in the 1980s. Maddie, the glamorous ex model turned businesswoman, represented the push for female autonomy. David, with his brash confidence, embodied a more traditional male dominated swagger. Their constant tug of war wasn't just about love, it was about equality, respect, and who controlled the narrative. Maddie often demanded structure and order, while David resisted, just thriving in chaos. The show's brilliance was making that conflict entertaining while also highlighting changing cultural values. Then we have identity and reinvention. Maddie Hayes, once the face of beauty products, had to redefine herself after losing her wealth. David Addison, the wisecracking detective, often revealed glimpses of a deeper man beneath the humor. Both characters wrestled with who they were versus who they wanted to be, a theme that gave emotional weight to the comedy and romance. Then we have free will versus fate. Episodes often played with destiny, mistaken identities, near misses, and dreamlike sequences where characters question what if. The show's flirtations with metafiction, including parodies of It's a Wonderful Life and Shakespeare, suggested that characters were aware of the script's fate had written for them and sometimes fought against them. And then finally, we have love work intertwined. Unlike many shows that kept romance at the edges of the workplace drama, Moonlighting made it central. Could Maddie and David's personal connections coexist with the business of running the Blue Moon Detective Agency? The push pull became a metaphor for the struggle between personal fulfillment and personal responsibility. And that's something that I say that they did really, really well is that Moonlighting was able to play around and balance all these themes and really just make it such an entertaining show for 5 seasons. It was lightning in a bottle. And let me just give you some episode recommendations here because one thing I also love is some of these episodes, like the dream sequence always rings twice from season 2, episode 4. This was the stylish black and white homage to the 1940s noir. Maddie and David imagine competing versions of an old murder case and both play different roles in their fantasies. It's a daring, beautiful shot, won critical acclaim. And of course, I have to highlight the pilot episode. I love the pilot episode. It's my favorite episode, actually, because it really establishes what the show is about and the way they did it and the way it was framed and the way we get the characterization for that hour. And I think it's an hour and 20 minutes of it feels like a movie. It's like it feels like a TV movie, the way it was shot and the way it was filmed and the pacing. But we get enough characterization on these characters to get to know who they are. And then I will also have to recommend I Am Curious, Maddie, as I alluded to before. This is the cultural flashpoint. Maddie and David finally sleep together after years of tension. Fans were electrified, though some felt that it removed the show's central core energy. And for those who want to know, that was season 3, episode 14. But this is a retrospective, so not everything was sunshine and roses. Moonlighting did have some turbulence behind the scenes. And for all its brilliance, Moonlighting was a nightmare to produce. There was scheduling nightmares, dialogue heavy scripts, and ambition set caused to delay. New episodes often missed air dates, frustrating fans. There was on-set tension between Bruce Willis and Cybill Shepherd. Clashes became infamous. Their chemistry on screen mirrored their off-screen animosity, their off-screen rivals for each other, rivalry. And then Shepherd's pregnancy in season 4 forced the show to awkwardly adjust, often sidelining her character. And then Bruce Willis blew up after Die Hard, and his film career took off, making him less available for the grueling TV schedule. By season 4, these pressures drained the show of its spark. Season 5 limped to the finish line with low ratings and storylines that lacked the earlier magic. But with all that said, my friends, I say it doesn't matter because it had a 5-year good run, 5-season good run. And Moonlighting was wild. It was inconsistent and frequently chaotic, but when it worked, it worked. I keep saying it, lightning in a bottle. This show definitely was lightning in a bottle. Bruce Willis and Cybill Shepherd, Maddie and David remain one of television's most enduring couples. Its stylized risk paved the way for modern TV and experimentations, and its romantic tension still sets the gold standard. Though it burnt out in just 5 seasons, Moonlighting didn't just shine, it blazed. And I would have to say it is one of the GOATs of 80s TV. I highly recommend you check it out on Hulu if you have a Hulu account because that's where you can watch it. And this is Justin from Magic Division's Nostalgia Trip. This has been trip number 2. What do you think of Moonlighting? Comment below. Let me know. What is your favorite Moonlighting episode? Let's talk about it in the comment section. And if you like what we do here, hopefully it earns your subscription. So please hit the like button, subscribe button, and notification bell, my friends. And I'll catch you on the next trip. Later days.
Ta-da! From the company picnic. Used to throw a great picnic. Why are you looking at me like that?
I'm just surprised you didn't try to take me to your place.
I think I'm insulted. What you've gone for? Of course you would have.